All right, so Three Ninjas Podcast, Domino, Hesh Jones, Bobby, and we have a special guest in the dojo today. Someone I grew up on, and Bobby and Hesh, if he was here. Oftentimes we have these conversations about were we Nickelodeon kids or Cartoon Network kids. I definitely was a Nickelodeon kid, grew up on that since '86. And I feel like the person that we're talking to right now really shaped a lot of my, love for video games and hosting and things like that, because that was the first time that I actually seen somebody that looked like me on TV.
Oh,
that I can remember.
I got a comment about that. All right.
All right. So other than Double Dare, so in the dojo right now, we have the host of Nick Arcade and a bunch of other shows that we're going to get into. We're going to ask him a bunch of questions. We're going to see how he keep his hair black, everything like that.
I got a box in the bathroom, yo.
We got the one, the only, Mr. Fillmore.
Yo, what's up, fellas? How you doing, Bobby Domino? What's up, fellas?
All right.
Doing good, man. How are you?
It's good to be here. I'm doing great, man. It's good to be here, man. The other thing that people used to always go is like, are you a Nickelodeon person? Are you a Cartoon Network? Or are you a Disney Channel person? That's the other thing. Disney Channel is another one they used to throw up in there. And, they would ask me, like, I've had people ask me that. I'm like, I'm sorry, my check says Nickelodeon. What do you think I'm going to say?
Right.
What do you think I'm going to say?
Gang over here.
But I have to admit, the one time when my son was like 5 or 6 years old, I was being interviewed, and some local Orlando news guy thought he was being super clever, and he was like, he did our little chit in the chat, and he turns to my son and said, "And listen, before we go, tell everybody your favorite Nickelodeon show." Put the mic in front of my son's face, live TV. He goes, "Legends of the Hidden Temple."
Oh, you a traitor. Lost this one.
Look, Guts was mine. Guts was my favorite,
Yeah.
Because listen, you gotta go on YouTube and find, there's like, being in the studio, you could hear all the different mixes of the theme song. All of our theme songs had a variety of different mixes. You know what I mean? Even like, what's really, I'm not gonna suggest y'all do this, but if you were of the ones that partake of like mind altering substances, there is a version of the Nick Arcade theme song when there was a game that we played called Credit Call, and it was like I called it the smooth jazz version of the song because it lost all of the like dee, dee, dee. It was like do 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 do. I wanted like Barry White to come out the back and go, yeah, but Guts has a version where I just call it the all drums funk Rick James in your face edit of the song, where it was like there's a cut that they would play when the audience would come in, and it would just go, "Do you have it?" And then it was just like, it was just like, and nobody was saying nothing else other than, "Do you have it?" And just, I tried to aggro Craig just to stand on the top of that thing and just dance,
Now, where's the 90s documentary on all this stuff? Because I've never heard any of this. I haven't heard anybody talk about this. I haven't seen it in tweets. Like, where's the 90s Nickelodeon documentary?
Well, look, you know what? There's the thing. I think it was on Netflix, or was it? I can't remember where it is. Everybody Google it. But it was on either Netflix or Peacock or Paramount Plus. I mean, gosh, it's probably right. But anyway, it was called The Orange Years, and it was co-produced by Elisa Reyes, who played on All That.
All That. I used to love.
So there's an actual thing where they got together and they talked with all of us, and it was semi piggybacking off of this book that was written by a guy named Matt Clistine called Slime, the Golden Years of Nickelodeon. So they took like that concept and said, well, let's do our own thing. And they got all of us, man. They didn't just talk to us on camera. They talked to a lot of people behind the scenes. But the thing is, everybody's got their own different story. Like everything I'm telling you, those are mine. This is just me. Like nobody ever asked me, what's your favorite Nickelodeon theme song? But since we're here just chitting and chatting, I'm just going to tell you everything.
I'm with it. Hey. Listen, I don't know how long we got you for, but we can go. Like, you can just keep going.
Look. People don't know. Like, I was a little late getting here because I was dealing with LA traffic. But I told him, I said, look, I'm hungry. I might get up and get me like a glass of something to drink,
Yeah.
so I can keep the throat going. Because I just
Bro,
walked in the door, but I told these guys, they told me a certain time, and I'm like, let's go.
I'm just happy to have you here because I never thought in my lifetime I'll be able to speak to somebody like you.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Well, it's interesting. So going back to the thing you said at the top of the show, man. There's a guy. I get to hear that a lot. Nowadays, since the '90s, I call '90s are the new black. So now everybody wants to do their '90s con,
Right.
and I get to meet people. But there is a guy who they brought back Double Dare back in like 2018.
Yeah.
And I went out there to say hey to my friend Mark, to kind of support him, give the old like thumbs up to Liza Koshy, who was doing the thing. They were out there crushing it. And I went there just like, be in the background, enjoy the day, maybe have some lunch afterwards. And the guy who was doing the audience warm up called me over and he's like, oh my gosh, he picked up his phone. He said, you got to talk to my friend. He's going to lose his mind. So he calls him up. And he's FaceTiming him and turns the phone on, and this guy like, oh my gosh, and he's like really excited to see me. I'm just thinking, okay, cool. This is like a really cool fan. Turns out this brother is Steve Harvey's audience warm up. He also does the audience warm up for the Kelly Clarkson show. He does the warm up for Family Feud. It's like he is one of the top audience warm up guys in Los Angeles. As a matter of fact, on a couple of shows that I produced, I've actually contacted his people and hired him to do warm up for shows that I was producing. This is how dope this guy is. Well, his story was, he goes, you don't understand, man. Like, I was a contestant on Nick Arcade. And he goes, and like living in Orlando, he wasn't even living in Orlando. I think he was living in like one of the smaller cities, which once you get out of Orlando, you're really talking like, Orlando's kind of Central Florida is kind of like, swamp. Everybody knows,
Yeah.
And he said, like, people in his family, they were all doing like nice, respectable jobs, but he had like these ideas of bigger things, but they would kind of go like, yo, bring it down, son. You living in Florida here. And he said when he came onto the show, because he came on season 1, so he hadn't seen any episodes, no episodes that aired prior. And he said it was the first time in his life he ever saw anybody who looked like him doing what he wanted to do. And now he's up here large in LA, audience warm up to the stars now. And it was just kind of, it's kind of interesting though. I showed up every day just to do my job and pay off my student loans, but I had no idea like the long-term effects it would have just by being present and just representing a section of folk that weren't represented. I ended up finding out later on, it's interesting, the show was nominated for an ACE Award. For those who don't know, everything now gets like, everything streaming TV shows, they get Emmys. But back when cable was out, the cable version of an Emmy Award was called an ACE Award. And the show was nominated. While we were out here, they flew us out to California, the guys that created the show and myself. And while we were out here, we found out that that year, that I was the only like African-American host on television in the United States. I was not the first, but like that moment in time, 1991, something like that. It was like, if you flip through the channels, that was it. I was like, wow, and you find them, like that. So it's interesting how, people, things you don't know. Like I said, I was just happy and thankful to have the gig, and I was having fun doing it. And you just don't know what effect it has on folks.
Yeah, because as I was doing my research, and then I just go back in the Rolodex of like shows I used to watch, and I think the only other black host I remember was Omar Gooding on Wild and Crazy Kids.
Oh yeah,
right.
And I think that was after your show came out, but exactly. I remember just watching your show and be like, he's so happy and energetic. He gets to play video games or commentate or host, and he's the only black person I see hosting. I want to do that.
Yeah,
that shit looked fun.
It was fun. Look, let me tell you. Okay, more behind the scenes stuff that you would not know. So here's the thing: when you have a video game show on national television, international TV, it's a hit. At that moment in time, every video game manufacturer was putting on the lip gloss, getting down on their knees, grabbing the executive producers' behinds, puckering up, and kissing it like a fat, juicy steak. You know what I'm saying? And so there were days, seriously, there are days when I'd be sitting at home when we weren't shooting, you know, during the hiatus time. Just sitting at home, you know, doing the whole family thing. Ding dong, I go to my door, open it up. It's FedEx. Hi, this is FedEx. This is blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this is your Fillmore. Yeah, sign for this. What you got for me? I don't know, stuff from Sega. We got a delivery to you from Nintendo. Oh, hey, we got to deliver you from, Neo Geo. And they would just like send stuff to like the showrunner, the 2 executive producers, the network studio head, and myself. We would just get stuff sent to us, and basically with a note that, and I'm paraphrasing here, that said, "Take a look, see what you like. You want to put it on the show? Hey, hey, take a look. Go ahead, take a look." Dude, my son, at the time, he was like around 5-6 years old. There was one room that we had that was like the TV room. We had the family room, the living room, but there was a room that I set up that was like, we had a bunch of TVs because we had so many game systems that if people wanted to play multiple games. So we had this one room set up where we'd have, you know, the Nintendo over here. We'd have the Nintendo 64. We'd have the Sega Genesis over here. We'd have the Dreamcast over here. We'd have the 8-bit system over here. It was like we had just everything just set up. Dude, they were just, so that was the extra perk. I'm having fun. I'm on TV. I'm making decent money. You know, look, I went from again, I wasn't joking. I went from still trying to pay off my student loans and trying to take care of family to, okay, look, we're doing okay. And then they give me video games for free.
Can't ask for nothing. Can't ask for nothing else.
That's why when people it's so weird because I think we all should be growing, trying to achieve. Everybody's got you've heard the thing of the bucket list. I kind of stopped them dude, what happens when you successfully do your bucket list by 30?
That's a flex. That's a flex.
So everything else is just bonus. Everything else is just bonus blessing. It's like, what am I doing now? I'm doing this thing. Why? I don't know. It's fun. I'm enjoying it. Something new. Again, it continues to pay the bills. But what do you really what's on your list? Man, that list is, like I said, it is a blessing because, man, a lot of the stuff is checked off the list just because of Nickelodeon. I got nothing. The 90s Nickelodeon was the best. The people that ran the network out of New York, they were the best. And that's why I think, people ask me now about the difference between Nickelodeon now and Nickelodeon then. And I'm like, I don't know about Nickelodeon now.
Actually,
I'm not there now. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not there. I don't know. But I do know the folks, the incredible and talented people that were, creating the shows and hiring the hosts and the actors and actresses. And they just were in a totally different place, man. And man, thank God they were, because it seemed like it was lightning in a bottle. Man. It was really the right place, right time. It was a decade that was amazing, and I have not seen anything even come close to it.
Yeah. I don't think that we can create that now with social media, your YouTube, your streaming and stuff like that. I think that's pretty much impossible. And then the attention spans of kids, I don't think they really want to, sit down and actually watch a half-hour TV show dedicated to games. G4 just came back and that flopped.
Man, you know what? First of all, let me sit back. Let me play old man in the room for a second. I'm gonna do old man in the room a second. Hey, tell you something, Domino. Ninja Domino. Dude, that was some deep cuts you made right there. Because most people around you guys' ages, they don't get that. They remember the nostalgia. They feel the nostalgia. When I go and make these appearances and do other podcasts, inevitably somebody always talks about doing a reboot. And I kind of want to go, what you're doing right now is you're chewing on the member berries. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to get your feels. But if you really, I got to talk business to them for a second. I'm like, let's take a look at the marketplace right now. And I would saturate it with all of these ways in which people can get content. Let's look at the length of time of the content. And I go through all of these things and I break it down as to why it's not something to just turn around and say, let's just do it because you remember how good it made you feel, because the landscape has changed so much. And the biggest thing that, look, the creators of Nick Arcade and I are actively trying to get the rights to the show because we want to do something that's a little bit different. But we still need to get their permission to do it. As long as they own it, we can't just pop up and do anything.
Right.
But the thing that also is super important, and this is what I think we have an idea about, the one thing that people don't get is not just talking about like being able to get content via streaming and all these other places, but let's just talk about the technology. See, if you really think about Nick Arcade, if you watch it right now, because right now I think you can watch old episodes now. They have it on Paramount Plus. When you really just watch the show, it's just like, okay. But the thing that made the show back then was you were able to do something only on the show that you cannot do anywhere else.
Right.
And that was go inside the video game, right? Dude, I got an Oculus in the living room. I can do that. I can do that on the toilet right now. You know what I'm saying? And so the idea of just doing something that you could just randomly do at home, that's not appealing in the eyes of a network. You've got to come up with something. I mean, the technology to make Nick Arcade work was invented. It's not like they invented it for the show. These guys invented the technology and went, what are we going to do with this? Exactly. And they came up with a show. So it's got to be something wrapped around whatever the next incarnation of a video game show that we do. It's got to be something that says, and you can only do this here. You might be able to do a piece of it at home, but what we end up doing is something that you can only do here. Because without that, you add that on top of everything you just said about all the different places where you can get, IP now and get content and the attention span of people. You add that on top of it, and you're pushing a snowball up a hill. It's really, but most people don't get that. So, dude, I'm sitting up here. I'm having an uncle nephew moment right now. I'm going Hercules, because that, normally I have to explain that, but the fact that you get that, man, I commend you, dude.
Yeah, because we reached a point where we're trying to get nostalgia to work and it's not connecting. And I think that's the reason. It's just too much accessible technology or just ways to actually put everything out there, because everybody wants to be a star. Everybody got ideas. Everybody with a mic think they're a podcaster or a host or something like that. It's just we're getting to a point where I don't know why we're trying to, I guess, bring older things back, thinking that the newer kids are going to like it. Because I think if they switch their audience, we would like somebody my age would love Nick Arcade to come back. I don't think my daughter would actually watch Nick Arcade.
Right. And the weird thing is, but not the weird thing. And on top of that, the people that mostly dominate these ways of getting content are younger than you are.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you're going to put content that appeals to a majority of the audience that isn't really saturating the airwaves. You know what I mean? It's like the people who are dominating the airwaves wouldn't be interested in it. And those that would be interested in it aren't on the airwaves with that same dominance, So it's got to be something. If I still believe, though, if we come up with something that is a unique and original hook that just makes anybody go, wow, that's different. I mean, people like that. People like when you throw something up and it's unique and it catches you. I mean, even if it's something, even if somebody does like a interesting, crazy move on TikTok, it's like, wow, I've never seen anybody do that. It's not that, you were on TikTok that made me go, wow, and click that button. It's because I saw something that was interesting, unique, or different that intrigued me and made me go, all right, boom, I'm going to follow this person. So the show's got to have that. This new incarnation, whatever it is, cannot rely on the member berries. It cannot be successful with just the fan base that grew up with the show. It's going to have to be appealing to a new audience, and they're both going to have to hold it up together. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
That's the business side of me. Okay, I'm taking that hat off and being like, okay.
No, because I want to hear it.
Okay. Slow it down. You're gonna fall in love. Pull it now. Slow it down.
All right, so we're back.
I actually got a present question for him for where we left off at when you said in order to bring a show back, you have to have something for basically to get everybody involved. Do you think that Family Double Dare could work today?
If they tried it already.
Oh shit.
2018,
Yeah.
2018, they brought back Double Dare. They to appeal to the crowd that grew up with it. Mark Summers was no longer the host. He was like Harvey. He was now the announcer. Mm-hmm. And then the YouTube phenom Liza Koshy.
Yeah, everybody on Liza.
He was the host of the show. So they already did this thing to kind of like, change it up a little bit. And hold on, I'm gonna send y'all something. Are we rolling right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we.
All right. I'm looking up something right now because I got to send y'all something that y'all appreciate having asked this question. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna send you this right now if I can find it. But yeah, they brought the show back. As a matter of fact, now listen. Despite everything I just said about how the show needs to be in order to come back and be successful, there is one part of me that like shakes my fist because in the 2000s they have done a reboot of every show, except Nick Arcade.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that.
They brought back Guts. It was called My Family's Got Guts.
What?
Mm-hmm.
They brought back Figure It Out.
Figure It Out. Yeah, I remember that one.
With Jeff, my good buddy Jeff Sufton, aka Pick Boy from Nickelodeon. Mm-hmm. They brought back most recently Legends of the Hidden Temple. They made it a movie, and then the CW did it with grown-ups on the CW network.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
and so it's kind of interesting. Like, wait a minute now, every show except okay,
yeah,
all right. And the weird thing is
the one with the black man on it.
The one with the black man, the one with the only brother in the house is the only one. Oh, I see what you're doing.
Gotta open up your third eye, my brother. See what they doing.
So yeah. Hold on a second. Hold on. Dang it. Sorry, y'all. I was trying to zip you this thing. I was trying to zip it on the Insta stank, but message. There you go. Okay, I'm trying to message it to you. Where are you guys? Okay. Gosh, what's your thing? I gotta find what you call yourselves again.
Three Ninjas Podcast.
What's it called?
Three Ninjas Podcast on
Three.
Instagram.
Okay. Three. Okay. Three Ninjas Experience. Is that it? No.
No, Three Ninjas Podcast.
It'll feel old typing. It'll feel you old
I know, right?
The one finger.
No, because you know what?
Yeah. You got the ET finger. What's going on?
Leave me alone. You see, I put on my glasses so I can see what I'm looking at. All right. All right, hang on. Three Ninjas Podcast. Come on, it's saying I can't find it. All right, look, I'm trying to find this thing and send you this picture because, or you know what? Wait, I know what I'll do. I know what I'm gonna do. All right, let's keep talking. I know what I'm gonna do.
All right. So basically, what I want to do is take it back to the beginning. So you're from Baltimore, right? Born and raised.
Mm-hmm. On the playground,
right.
That's what you mean.
Yeah. So how was it growing up for you in Baltimore? Because I haven't heard, the best things about Baltimore. I seen The Wire, stuff like that, the crack era and stuff like that. So how was going to Baltimore for you?
Yeah, Baltimore was great for me. Baltimore, just like so many towns, has had an evolution. I didn't grow up in the suburbs. I didn't grow up, with a silver spoon in my mouth. I lived in the city. I walked to school. I lived there off of Garrison Boulevard and Liberty Heights. Anybody know what that is? Now it's kind of like a place that's a little sketchy, but that's where I, got up, walked out the elementary school every day. And I guess just over time, just, with the economy and difficulty that people have, just life in general, the city has changed, unfortunately, in some areas due to, just circumstances,
Right.
But for me, it was great. The thing that was good for me growing up is just I'm going to sound like Fast X, but it's all for the family. Man, I had great family, man. Great family. I'm an only child, if you couldn't tell. Catching whore that I am. But I'm an only child. But my family, look, my mom, my dad, uncles and aunts, cousins. I mean, the other thing is I was like the only boy in our age range. So, you got your older cousins, you got your younger cousins. When you get to the group that were your cousins, I was the only boy. So I kind of felt like, king of the mountain there, and it was all good. But my family was just always loving. We always had a lot of fun. Once I grew up, I found out there was some shenanigans going on. Like, I didn't know Aunt Susie had a thing with Uncle Joey over here, and I didn't know that Sister so and so didn't like Sister so and so. That's why I never saw them. Right, exactly. I didn't know that because my cousins and I, we just enjoyed, our lives. We love being kids. We love, having fun. And like I said, my family, extended and right there in the house was a good part of it. Mom was the best. I mean, let me tell you how it translates from growing up from growing up to being grown. So, what got me, I went from Florida. I went from Baltimore down to Florida because I went to college there. And I just happened to be living there working when I did this career change and got in the show business. That's how I was in Florida. Right there at Universal Studios, it was literally, they built a studio in my back door when I decided to do TV stuff. Just, the universe coming together, But I remember the day that I told my mom, having gone through school, having amassed all of the student loans, I had just gotten married. And I was going to get in the showbiz doing stand-up comedy. A guy decided a manager said he would manage me. He would get me some gigs, but it would start out small and I'd have to work my way up. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. And I remember it was the hardest phone call to call your parents and go, okay, look, I know we've been doing it. It took me 11 years to get a 4-year degree, and I partied and I this and now I got a job. I got benefits. I got dental and I got medical and I got vision, but I'm gonna throw it away to go do stand-up comedy for maybe $50 a night in some bent toenail Florida outside of Orlando. And my mom's reaction without hesitation was, well, it's about time.
She knew. She saw it.
She knew. So it was always like that, It was always like that. Yeah.
Moms be knowing.
Yeah.
They know.
I know what you was doing. I know. I don't.
Yeah. So love her. Love the family. So growing up was fun. I wasn't really into sports. I'd always been sort of just kind of a nerd. I like space. Like I thought at one point, all my friends, there's 3 guys that I'm still friends with. We've been friends. I think the longest one, we were friends when we were 8 years old. And the other ones I met, somewhere else along the way. And we're still friends to this day. Every time I go back, I got to get together with these guys, either together or individually. But all of them said collectively, we all thought you were going to be a scientist. You were always talking about space stuff. You had telescopes in your room. You were always talking about the stars. When the men were landing on the moon and they put up the first space station, Skylab. You knew all the stats on it. Everybody thought that's what I was going to do. So it's kind of interesting, like this weird paradigm shift. But like I said, it was a supportive group of people. And everything was, I just enjoyed it, man. I got no problems. All of the things that Baltimore has evolved into because of social economical things and political things, it's unfortunate. And if it was there when I was a kid, again, my family shielded me from it.
Okay, so you had a good dynamic where you didn't get lost in the streets of Baltimore. They kind of kept you like close-knit. They kind of blinded you from like the BS that's going on outside the gangs, drugs and, anything else that you can get into.
Look, I knew people were in the gangs. I knew people did drugs, Yeah. I knew it existed, but I never felt like one of the things I've heard, I'm no psychologist, but one of the things you hear about a lot of times when people join up with certain things is because for them, they fulfill something in, these outside things fulfill something in them.
Yeah,
whatever
like a sense of family or something like that, or belonging.
I didn't have that emptiness.
Exactly.
So, I mean, what you want to do? Well, we're going to go over here. We're going to smoke some reefer. All right. What time you going to be done? 7? All right. I'll see you then. you know. And by the way, look, I was no super Johnny Nice kid. Look, I was no Theo Huxtable. But but here's the thing. My disposition, my personality, my energy has always been that. And I remember at a couple parties discovering that certain things like slowed me down, and I didn't like that. Mm-hmm. Like I remember like everybody's like, dude, how you feel? I'm like, I feel all right, but I really feel like going faster and I can't. You know what I mean? And I may have been talking fast and I may have been doing stuff, but in my brain, I felt like I was
Slowpoke Rodriguez. You want to be Speedy Gonzalez.
Right. And so it's really weird. I would love to come up with some great metaphysical thing about life, give you some great scripture. It was like, no, the stuff jacked me up and it made me feel like I was wearing like lead in my drawers. And I'm like, I want to get up and party. Oh, the honeys are coming in. I feel like I don't feel like getting up.
Yeah.
Getting over there, pulling my Lando Calrissian. Hello, what have we here? I just want to sit back, man. So I was like, okay, I don't think maybe I'll have a little drinky drink, but yeah, it was a lot of things that I just kind of shied away from just because of my disposition and my personality. And it's truth. I mean, it's facts, man. There were things happening and I was like, it just felt like it was like slowing me down so much. So that was just me.
Got you. Now, why did you feel the need to play it so safe? So you went to school for, a certain thing. You got a job, I guess, as a computer tech or something like that. But then you wound up quitting and just being, I guess, who you naturally are in something that you really want to do. Did you feel like that was like unobtainable, being like a stand-up comic or a host or whatever? Or you just want to be like, hey, this is something like I got benefits. I just got married, yada, yada.
It goes back to something that you actually said. But I personalized it. I wasn't that I didn't see anybody who looked like me doing what I wanted to do because there were plenty of people.
You could see it, but to know someone is different, though.
But still, like, look, we played. Look, in my house, Richard Pryor records played. Cosby records played. The comedians. Della Reese records played,
Eddie, the Red Fox, stuff
exactly.
Like that.
Red Fox records played, that good old Fred G. Sanford was like cussing up in our living room, So I had people who looked like me, but it wasn't about that. The reason why I played it safe was, and this is, oh man, dude, you are on point with your questions. Nobody's ever asked me this. I've had these conversations with like friends, but like no one has ever really like in any podcast, any interview or any appearances ever asked me. But I didn't see anybody who acted like me. Okay. So this guy right here, this is that guy you saw on TV. I wasn't on TV. Look, I don't act like this because I was on TV. I was on TV because I act like this.
Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't see anybody who acted like me. They looked like me. But the idea of like, can you imagine? Like, I have not moving since we talked, but can you imagine me microphone? So listen up, y'all. My wife came home the other day. I was like, "Girl, what are you doing?" I could not. There's nothing. So what ended up happening is, so I went, and of course I was the product of my environment. Look, I'm a only child. For a while, I was a latchkey kid. But not because like parents were neglectful. At one point, my mother decided to go back to school to get her master's degree. So when I got of a certain age, dad was working late, coming home normal like 6:37. But then mom would get off of work and then she would take her evening classes. Yeah. So I grew up in an environment where like I remember tripping when the Cosby Show first came on, and a lot of people were saying like that's not real black. And I stopped and I went, well, I grew up living on Garrison Boulevard in Baltimore City, and we talked just like them. And people went to school and they were focused on education just like them. We weren't like doctors and lawyers and stuff, but like it was what I saw around me. So the idea of, I didn't call it playing it safe. I just tried to do stuff so I wouldn't have to, so I could move out of the house and not be dependent on my family of supporting me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the reason why I didn't break into the business is because I didn't see anybody who acted like me until, and it's so weird because I would love to sit up there and throw a whole bunch of brothers up, but the people that made me go, well, maybe I should try this were the early career of Steve Martin, the early career of Howie Mandel, and George Carlin. Those guys brought energy to the stage. If anybody listening just goes on like YouTube and Google any of them, George Carlin can't talk without doing this the entire time he's talking. What he did, like, look, Howie Mandel, we all know him as just this judge on The Voice, but the reason why he's famous is because he had big curly hair. He did this cartoon called Bobby's World. Remember Bobby's World?
I remember Bobby's World on Fox.
But Howie Mandel was this hyperactive stand-up comic who used to end his act by blowing a rubber glove up on his head and it would pop off. Steve Martin, from back in his days on SNL, would do like the Wild and Crazy Guys and the Happy Feet. It was like, I saw the energy and I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. So they may not look like me, but the look was never an issue for me. I resisted doing it because this is who I am. And no comic has this sort of disposition.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And the idea of being able to just stand up in front of a microphone and just talk. Dude, I can't talk on the phone without walking and pacing the house, you know?
Right.
So when I saw those guys, I think that was the seed that was planted in my head. So when I eventually did give it a try, a seed had already been planted. I had like memories of something that I said, oh, well, these guys made it work because, you know, they weren't rejected by the business because they weren't just standing there in front of a microphone. So I tried to adapt what I was, you know, writing to fit my energy and my disposition.
What about Robert Williams?
Oh, and Robert Williams. Thank you. I forgot about him. Yes. But yeah, he's on there too.
Yeah, he was out there.
He was out there. Robert Williams was all over the place. So when you got like those four guys, again, it wasn't about skin tone. It was about energy and disposition. And if I was going to do this, you know, I needed to feel confident that it had been done, you know, so then I would give it a chance, but adapt things and make it, you know, to reflect me.
Got you. Now, you know that this disposition is you. People that know that this is you. But when the cameras go off, did you face any, like, I guess, backlash from other black people, like, oh, he code switching, or
no? This is always
didn't fit the prototypical black person, I guess.
Well, look. There's always the things where, you know. Look, I just mentioned the flack that the Cosby Show got. It was groundbreaking, and yet they got flack. Different world. It was groundbreaking, but living single. You have Queen Latifah, the queen of hip hop, and yet they're still getting called like, oh wow, you guys are switching up. Like, she's an intelligent, literate human being.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly. So the thing is, fortunately, I didn't grow up in the era of social media, so there was nobody dropping comments and stuff. I just decided to be me. I looked at my family; they were all nice and doing okay. I saw these cats that were like my sort of influence with respect to the physicality of the business, and I said, okay, they put themselves out there, showing like who they are. So I'm just going to try to put myself out there. I never stopped and said, hey guys, you got to like me. Somebody hired me. So they said, we like you.
Right.
Like this.
So that matters. I mean?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I didn't stop.
And they sign my check and you don't.
Right. Look, when I auditioned, I'd never done anything on TV before. When I auditioned for Nick Arcade, I went in and I took a look at, you take a look at the sides, which is, just 2 or 3 pages of the script, learn what the show is about. And I went out there and, I just kind of went with how it felt. The biggest thing, and I'm going to give credit to every kid that was on the show right now, because the biggest thing that inspired me was them. because it's kind of scary being on TV. You know what I mean? And I would watch these kids come in, and my scenario of being a contestant as a kid on a game show is this. So these adults who you don't know take you away from your parents. They take you into a room and go, "Hey, I like that outfit you're wearing. Put this on." Then they take you into a room where people who you don't know start putting makeup on you. If you're a girl, you may have been used to like doing stuff. For a lot of people, they've never had makeup put on them before, so it's a little bit unnerving, to have somebody like, "We're just going to put some powder on you." Why?
Where's my dad?
Right, exactly. Then where's my daddy? Then they send you to another person who looks like, big old beard, and he's got ice baby cold hands, and he's running a cord to your microphone up your shirt, and you're like, "Oh, stranger danger," and putting on a microphone. Then they bring in 400 total strangers called the audience, and then they put you on a podium and go, "Act natural." Ain't nothing natural about none of that.
None of it.
None of it. So I would look at them and I would see them sort of begin to, clam up a little bit because they were nervous about the situation. So it's almost like, you ever notice, like, if you ever been in a situation where you're starting to doze off and somebody goes, "Hey, wake up." That was me.
Gotcha.
It was like, let's keep it going. I know you're nervous. I know you're like, feeling a little bit overwhelmed, but hey, let's perk up, y'all, because we're having fun here. And if you didn't think so, I'm gonna sing a song. I'm gonna make you run over here. You're gonna get a little aerobic workout by the time I get done with you. And if your heart ain't pumping from the adrenaline instead of the nerves, then I don't know what's wrong with you. You don't have a pulse.
I got so much energy. I'm about to give you some of this. This is about to.
That's it exactly. That's it exactly. And then the other thing too about me on the show, I got no shame. The thing about being an only child sometimes is you don't have brothers and you don't have siblings telling you stupid. Stop it. That's dumb. You do stuff. And my mom was the Hercules. That was my mom. That's my baby. It was not my baby. Oh, my baby, you dropped it and it broke, but baby, that's my baby.
That's my baby.
Look at nobody can shatter it in as many pieces as my baby.
You're right.
And so when you go out and you do stuff and then you present that and somebody goes, "Okay." So now with the contestants, I stopped and I said, "Look, I know you feel dumb." You know what I mean? Like you don't feel comfortable in your own skin because ain't nothing about this is normal. Even though the wonderful production assistants are saying, "Just act natural, be yourself, have fun." I've never gone through the scenario of being taken away from my family, put strange clothes on me, put makeup on me, have a cord shoved up my butt, and then said, "Hey, this is fun." Nothing about that is normal. And so I wanted to assure them that, like, you will never be the strangest one in the room. You will never be the most nervous person in the room. At least my energy will equal what nervous energy is, except mine wasn't nerves, Right. So there is nothing you could do to feel embarrassed. I will out embarrass you every single day. So you are free to get comfortable. Right. So come on, be comfortable. If you think that you're going to look silly standing up here answering these questions, wait till you hear this dumbass song I'm about to sing.
Now, what do you remember about your first day on the Nick Arcade set?
I was nervous, extremely nervous. I went from doing stand-up. I went from a regular job working at a data center to doing stand-up, which I'd done for like a year and a half. That segue into doing audience warm-ups, which is basically, stand-up comedy, but for people in to see a show.
Yeah, you was doing that for like the Mickey Mouse Club or something like that?
Mickey Mouse Club. I did my first warm-up gig was a game show that used to air on MTV called Remote Control. With the late great Ken Ober, Colin Quinn, Adam Sandler. It was on the show as a character. I did Let's Make a Deal. Team Win, Lose or Draw, just a whole bunch of shows that came in the shoot. And I was, one of the go-to guys they brought in to do the audience warm-up at the brand new Universal Studios and the brand new, at the time, Disney MGM Studios. But I was nervous, man. I was nervous because, and I was so nervous. Let me tell you a conversation I actually had. In this business, a lot of times, to their credit, executives and network people like to appease the talent, as they call us, to keep us happy, to keep us from being nervous, to keep us calm. But I actually called over the executive producer, a gentleman named Scott Fishman, and I reached back and I turned off my microphone pack so that nobody can hear me. I said, Scott, listen, if I'm doing something that is totally screwing up, I want you to tell me. And he goes, okay. I'm like, no. You're doing the showbiz executive. You're not going to hear from my agent. You're not going to hear from an attorney because I already know. This is like my foresight of what I was getting into. I said, I already know that when the show is over, if I look like a total and complete wide open ass on the show, no kid is going to wait and read the credits and go, who directed that thing?
Right. They're going to be...
who's the executive producer that let that go by? Or they're going to stop and go, Phil Suggs!
Phil!
Right. So I said, I am the face of this show. You guys are the brains and you're the muscle, but I'm the face of the show. So I want you to tell me, call me out. If I do something if I'm going a little over the top, if maybe I should pull back, if maybe I shouldn't say or do that thing again, I want you to tell me. This is my first show. No one's ever going to blame you. At the end of the day, America, if I screw this up, will blame me. And that's the relationship we had right from the start. I was so nervous. I'm like, keep it real with me. I'm so nervous. Keep it real with me. I'm feeling this out. I'm working this out. You know what I mean? I'm hosting this show by Braille. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I need you to keep the lumps in order. You know what I mean? So yeah, I was nervous, man. Super nervous.
Now, is there anything on the show that they made you do that you didn't want to do?
With them ugly damn sweaters,
like a song or a dance or like something like.
You were talking. You missed what they made me wear. Them ugly damn sweaters and shirts.
I was gonna ask you too, whose idea was them sweaters, them button ups, but now that I know,
ain't mine.
All right.
With my idea, not at all. I auditioned for Nick Arcade wearing a Martin Luther King shirt.
Yeah, that was around them days where everybody was like wearing the wood necklaces and the
Dude, I will find you a picture that we took, and it's got the stuff. I have a picture at the office wearing the shirt. But is there anything that they made me do? No, look, everything I did. Some of the things that are iconic that people remember about the show, with respect to my hosting, came from me. Like the songs. The songs, if you watch the beginning, there are no songs. Songs don't exist. The songs became a thing where we had a situation where we had a technical hole. So they stopped shooting the show. The audience warm-up goes out and try to keep the audience entertained so they don't get antsy. I decided to join them because, like I said, I used to do that. So, right. And of course, the kids get a big kick. Not only are they being entertained by an audience warm-up guy, but the host is coming over and he's talking with us. And I remember not knowing how long this technical hole was going to take. So the story is someone up in the control room said, hey, why don't we play some music down there? But did they play like Nickelodeon theme songs? No. Did they play music from some of the rides out at Universal Studios? The Back to the Future theme, the E.T. theme? No. What did they play? They played the Nick Arcade theme song on what seemed like an eternity freaking loop. It was dun 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 dun. Bum, 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 dun, 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 dun. I was
like, hey, nah. After the third one, nah.
So this went on, honestly, for about 5 minutes. then the technical hold was done. I went back behind the podium. We started to do the show again. So when that song came up, it's the song that they played for Video Challenge. It was the same song. Right. And so when the song played, I was like, I can't even remember the song I made, but I totally ad-libbed something that was like, there it is, it's such a sin, they're playing that crazy song again. You know, it's like I just made up something. And that was my way of saying, why you to the control room? It was an inside joke from me to the control room. Mm-hmm. Then when we came back, I ad-libbed something as we ran back. Mm-hmm. And then I was done. The next time we did Video Challenge, I didn't sing a song. Then all of a sudden we hear, from the speakers. Mm. And then the stage manager's listening on his walkie-talkie, his earpiece. He's like, okay, I'll tell him. Okay, sure, copy that. Hey, Phil, the song that you did earlier, yeah? He goes, how come you didn't sing it this time? I said, that was just me saying, like, screw you to them upstairs. He goes, yeah, but they liked it. Could you do it again?
Go ahead, Phil. Do that little thing you do.
Do that thing you did. That thing you did. Do the thing you did. And that's how the songs became a thing. It literally, I was Who Line Is It Anyway before Whose Line Is It Anyway was doing the improv of making up the song. And that's literally, and every single song was made up on the spot. And I started doing it for like, different things. Sometimes it would be the video challenge. Sometimes it would be if it were a different puzzle, one of the other points puzzles, pop quizzes. I would just make them up, and I would just, in the moment, in the spot, seeing whatever it was, I would just make up something just right. Even when something happened, my favorite one, and the only reason I remember this is because for a rap party, they put together a collection of Phil's greatest hits like it was a record. And there was one which I had, it was that little like writing thing that you had to do. It was like a magna doodle. Mm-hmm. And there was a magnet that you had to write with. And I dropped it. And I remember the song was like, red team's coming to visit me. And I dropped it. I'm like, I dropped a little writing thingy. I was singing about what I was doing. Yeah. But that's where it came. Once they gave me the green light to do it, I went buck wild. It was like, all right, here we go. You said you wanted more. You wanted Phil more. Yeah. You gonna get more.
Yeah, definitely got it. That's dope, man.
That's how that happened, man. That's how
making up stuff on the spot freestyle. That's dope.
Yep.
Now, Nick Arcade ran from 92 till when?
It actually ran from 91 to 92.
91 to 90. It was that short?
Yeah, that was it.
Were there that many?
Isn't that amazing? Dude, look, we shot the shows.
Because I remember that show for at least like 3 years. Yeah.
We shot the show in 1990. It premiered as a brand new show at the top of 1991. We did one season in 1991. We got picked up again. We did another season in 1992. Then while we were waiting to hear if we were going to come back, we got nominated for the cable version of an Emmy Award called an ACE Award. And we were waiting just to, get the good news that we were coming back. In the meantime, they decided to make a tour. Double Dare Live had been touring the country, playing arenas. So they decided, let's see if we can, not they meaning the powers that be at Viacom, said, let's see if we can come up with another show. Wild and Crazy Kids do that, and Nick Takes Over Your School. Let's see if we can get an arena-sized level tour that could go out sometimes instead of Double Dare. And so they took Mike O'Malley and myself, put us together and created the Nick Live Tour, where we did games from both of our shows, plus some other things that you've seen on TV, mostly Wild and Crazy Kids stuff. Because Wild and Crazy Kids never did like tour or do anything outside of just their episodes. So we thought it'd be fun to recreate some of those games, because kids love that show too, that they never would get a chance to do. And so it was incorporated into the Nick Live Tour. And then we got the word that we weren't coming back. But again, this is another reason, and I mean this, man, I've said it a million times, I'm gonna say it again with y'all. 90s Knicks fans are the best anywhere, because Nick Arcade did not get the backing and the promotion and the marketing that all of these other shows did. Do you know that you cannot, well, now you can. I used to maybe say you cannot, but up until recently, some other t-shirt company now has gotten the licensing to make these products. But until like 2020, you cannot buy any Nick Arcade merch. You can buy a Nick Arcade shirt. You can buy a Nick Arcade hat. You can buy a Nick Arcade pin. You can buy a Nick Arcade. I would go to gaming conventions and Mark Summers would be there and people would come over to him with the Double Dare video game for him to sign. People would come over to Mike O'Malley with the Guts video game to sign. But the show about video games.
Does it?
No video game.
Don't have a
when
game.
we were on tour, you could go to the concession stand. People could go to the concession stand at the tour that I was co-hosting and buy themselves a Purple Parrot shirt, a Green Monkey shirt. They can buy themselves a Tommy and Pickle shirt. They can come back with Real Monsters. They can get a Clarissa Explains It All shirt. They can They can come back with a shirt that says, "Do you have it?" They can come up with Super Sloppy Double Dare. But I'm the black man up on stage. You can't buy jack about the thing that I'm pimping right now.
I don't know.
And then the other thing,
that's
like
successful of a show. Like, do people not remember? Like, what's
even with respect to marketing, as I said, marketing, because now that I'm going around now, I do cons and I do gaming expos, making an appearance at the. It's hard for people to. There's a couple of pictures that I bring with me to autograph. People go, "How don't you bring any more?" I said, "Because they never did a photo press day with me."
Right.
Every picture you ever see of me, I am in motion because it was a screen grab. You had to find a moment where, you had to find a moment where I look decent enough to say, here's a picture to use as promotion in which it isn't blurry because everything was a screen. You can find pictures of Kurt Fogg leaning up against Omac. You can find pictures of Mark and Robin, So you can find pictures of Mike and Mo, There's Summer Sanders with Billy the Answerhead. No film. Which is where I'm coming to with the fans, because a show without merchandising, marketing, and a lot of press, people remember right on par with Double Dare, Guts, Figure It Out, and what's the other one? And Legend of the Hidden Temple. And I owe that to the fans because it wasn't like it was thrown in your face through these other ancillary methods. It was just the fandom and the audience, the Nickelodeon 90s kids, just liking what they see and go, all right, they put the show in their face if the network didn't and marketing didn't put it in their face. They put it in their face. And so the fact that I can still go out now and be in a booth right beside Mark Summers because the fans said, no, we remember you, man. We remember you. We remember the show. So I give major thanks and just, credit to them, man. They are like the backbone of this legacy.
Man, you really made an impact. So I don't know why, you wouldn't be in that upper echelon of like, even just merch or just, having your name or face out there more. I feel like you should be one of them ones that should be heralded as the person that helped build Nickelodeon.
Well, look, I appreciate that. Like I said, I came in toward the end of my run there. I did a decade there. Like I said, we started shooting Nick Arcade in 1990. And the last show that I hosted was a show called You're On Nickelodeon in 1999. And by the time I got to the end, I did feel like I'd grown in the business. I was no longer nervous. You could put me in front of 27,000 people. We played on tour, Nick Live Tour. We played Madison Square Garden to a sold out house of 27,000 people. And yet I walked out on that stage and without dropping a sweat, because now it became second nature. I grew as a professional business person, knowing, refining my craft and what it is that I did. So by the time I got to the end, I felt like I, had a voice in the company that was competent. I knew a little bit more about how the business was run. So I was able to work and even help with the development behind the scenes of some shows. Things that people wouldn't know. I worked with Klosky Chupo, the people that did Rugrats, Real Monsters, those shows, in developing a Susie Carmichael spinoff show. I was part of that team that put together a pilot, and I still have the DVD of the Susie Carmichael pilot that I worked on. I worked with the team that was, working behind the scenes to do the Double Dare 2000. Everybody remembers, Dave and Vivian and these other folks that did Slime Time, but we, meaning Mike, Mark, and I, actually started Slime Time. It was like an interstitial they did during the summer. So when they decided they wanted to make Slime Time its own show, again, I was a part of the team. We had done it, for a while. So there was a lot of stuff like toward the end there that I was able to have a voice in to kind of help with, keeping good content out there. But anyway, I appreciate it, man. Like I said, I'm just thankful that, it was a great run. I was thankful to be there, and I'm happy that I learned. Like, I didn't go up there just trying to flex. If I tried to make a point about something, it was because it came from a place of knowledge, having now learned something. Wasn't just talking out of my butt because I'm Phil Moore. Right. I was bringing an idea to the table because I really felt it would be beneficial to the network and to the audience.
Yeah, so you answered a question that I had, because once they started moving away from more like game show content and them being actual hosts, I wanted to know, like, how was it for you to pivot into something else? Or did you feel like you would like lose your identity, or you wouldn't be able to create or make money, or something like that? But you answered my question. So
well, what I do now, what I ended up doing immediately following the closing of Nickelodeon Studios. First of all, it wasn't. The thing that was interesting was the studio shut down. So Nickelodeon always took great care of me, and I'm forever grateful for them. The 90s decade, the people that ran the place, it was, like I said, a phenomenal team of just men and women that, oh my God, I can't even, just be Jerry LeBron up and down. It was just great folks. And even people that did things that I wasn't really attached to. You get to know the people working on Nick Jr. You get to know the people that create the music for the show. Like I said, I worked with Klasky Chupo. They were in animation. I don't draw. Right. But you get to know the folks. It was family. When the show network was closing down, there was that thing, okay, what do I do now? Because it's not a thing of like going to anybody complaining, hey, give me another show or do another thing with me. Like, the place is closing down. So it was like, what do I do? Do I go back to doing stand-up? The landscape of stand-up had changed. Right. A lot of the shows, Orlando was now sort of, they had made themselves into Hollywood East, but then they were slowly losing that to Atlanta. So so a lot of the other shows that were coming there that I did warm up for weren't coming there anymore. Right. So it was sort of an interesting time to like, okay, what do I do now? I tried my hand at acting. There's a movie called Rosewood. It was a Warner Brothers movie directed by the late great John Singleton. It stars, Ving Rhames, Don Cheadle, John Voight, Esther Roll. I mean, and I'm in the thing. And so I tried my hand at that because, I never, took any acting thing, but I said, let me give it a try. And again, figuring out, like you said, what am I going to do next? How am I going to, I no longer have a toddler. I have a 10-year-old running around now. Right. I have responsibilities. What am I going to do? Ultimately, I ended up jumping right into working behind the cameras because this was after 9/11. And, right now in Los Angeles, we're going through a writer's strike. So I am not doing anything, other than development. When I say development, I have a team of people in my production company and we're out pitching shows, but I'm not like actively working on any show right now. That's what happened also when 9/11 happened. Just the world came to a halt. And so there weren't a lot of places to go and like get a job acting, hosting, or whatever. But when things started to gear up, I found that I had a niche for writing, and that segued into production for host-driven shows and game shows because that's what I had done. Again, I didn't just go up there and just say, hey, I'm just the guy, I'm talent. I was learning through these experiences, learning from everybody I met, learning from, other hosts that came there before me. Mike and Mark were there before I got there.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I met a new executive producer, by now we had Brian Tomlinson, who's now the president of Nickelodeon. I'm Brian Robbins. I'm sorry, who is now the president of Nickelodeon. But he's the guy that co-created all that, and Keenan and Kel. So I'm watching these people. We had people like Kim Fields from different world coming in to direct episodes. So now I'm absorbing, man.
Yeah.
I'm absorbing all of this. And so when the segue that I made was into writing and then ultimately producing, I was a producer for the original G4. I was a producer
for the
show X-Play. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I was learning. And so when the world opened back up after the tragedy of 9/11, I jumped in and, exercised another muscle that I had. You know what I mean? I didn't have to be, because another thing, again, is that the whole thing is, there's this thing of satisfaction. Like, there was nothing to me like trying to recapture the glory days. It's like, it was something that I wanted to do, and I got a chance to do it. It got checked off the bucket list. What next? Now, the closing down of the studio may have actively caused me to pursue the what next sooner than I had anticipated. But there was still always the idea of what next? Ultimately, eventually, I'm going to have to figure out the what next. And the mandate of the studio shutting down just dictated when I would start that journey. And I just fell back on other things that I had been learning through my career as on-camera host. All you saw was on-camera host, but I was absorbing, learning so many other things about the business, so that when it was, when it was time to make that what next, I could segue into writing, I could segue into producing, and now I'm back at doing game shows. The last show that I produced right now, season 4 of Kevin Hart's Celebrity Game Face, all the crazy nutsy things that you see the people do. I'm part of the team that creates the games. So, it's still in my DNA, man. Still doing it.
Right. Now, how did that what next attitude affect you during COVID?
Dude, I was blessed like crazy, man. I'm going through COVID now, not experiencing COVID. I worked straight through COVID. I was really blessed, dude. Really blessed. There was a show that I was going to be. I was working on a show for Nickelodeon, starring that YouTube phenomenon kid named Ryan. He does Ryan's Tour Review. We did a show called Ryan's Mystery Playdate, and so I was working on that. That took us all the way up until March 2020, and I was going to be doing a show for Twitch. Twitch was going to do their first in-studio show featuring gamers on Twitch by having to compete in gaming competitions and also IRL challenges. Right. And we were going to do it in a studio so that we could build the IRL challenge. We were going to have them do in real life things that you would do or your character would do in a game.
Right.
Right. And so that was the original plan. COVID happened. So the powers that be, the production company, the executive producers, they all were like, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And somebody realized who they are. They're like, we're about to make a TV show for Twitch. Twitch is used to streaming.
Right.
So what we did then was put our heads together and figure out a way to do the same show. It was going to be smaller now because everybody was going to be home, but it was the beginning of people doing not just content, but producing a edited television show type piece of entertainment, but from everybody's home. We ended up sending everybody already had a green screen, but we sent everybody a green screen. Everybody was going to be the contestants so that everybody's background looked the same. We figured out the video games, and it was up to some other tech people to hook everything up so that everybody could do whatever and we could monitor it from our computers and stuff. My job was still the IRL challenges. My job was to come up with the games, but now they had to fit on a 4x6 table because we were going to build these props, send them to them in pieces, send a big table that they would set And so like right now, I got a table right here. So we would send them a table that would sit in front of their computer screen or their computer camera. And then I would show them how to set it up and, how the pieces all came together. So when it came time to do the IRL challenges, we could do it right there, on the spot with everybody in their homes all across America. So I did that. We did it for the first season. We got picked up right away. We did another season. That was 2020. So I worked through COVID. Then when 2021 came around, Nickelodeon was doing a new game show. They were going to go back into the studio. By this time, we'd had established COVID protocols. We were, when you went into a place, mass testing, the whole 9 yards. So there was a show called Tuned In. It was a game show in which kids would answer questions based on trivia from Nicktoons. And if you got it wrong, you got slime. That's basically it. A right answer gets you points. Wrong answer gets you a dose of slime on you. And so I was a producer on that show. And we would go in, we'd wear the mask, we'd have the face things on, because the kids, of course, they didn't want the kids wearing anything. They wanted to see their beautiful faces on camera. So that was 2021. So the bulk of the shutdown for COVID, man, I was really blessed. I worked right through it. Right now, I'm going through, when I say I'm going through COVID, is the idea of like, with the writer's strike, businesses come to a screeching halt. That's why you get to talk to me today.
Because otherwise you're not reachable.
You guys are like, hey, Phil, listen, we just wondering, can we fit it into your busy schedule? My busy schedule.
Oh yeah, let me check.
When I get off of here, it's like, well, let's see, what can I watch on Netflix now? It's like I'm waiting for tomorrow so I can watch the new episode of Citadel. All right, what's coming on next?
Another good time.
At least I'm not trapped in my house. I guess I say it's a positive.
That's
thing.
the one.
With COVID. I mean, last night, I keep making all of these Fast X references because last night I went with my son to see Fast X. I can get out of the house. I'm bugging him. He's a working man. Hey, you want to go to the movie? Dad, it's 10 in the morning. Yeah, come on, let's go.
Come on, I ain't doing nothing.
Dad. Like, I ain't doing nothing? Yeah. Well, then, Dad, I am. All right, what time you get off of work?
Now, I'm not going to keep you much longer because, you're hungry and, it's late for us. I know you say you ain't got nothing to do.
I'm smelling the food over there. I'm smelling it.
Yeah. Now, I guess my last question is, second to last question. What show would you have liked to host that you didn't host?
Easy.
Whether it be on Nickelodeon or...
No, Love Guts. Love Guts. Guts. And even with respect to game shows, because, and again, Mike had his take on how to host it. He did it like a sports analyst, which was great. But I would have been running around the track with the kids. I would have said, strap me up with them bungee cords. I'm not doing the show unless I can bungee with the kids. You know what I'm saying? So I would have translated that into, Guts, really, out of all the Nickelodeon shows, Guts was my personal favorite show. Any chance I had to go over to watch a taping, I would. All of the tech people allowed my son and I to harness up and climb the agri-prag just one day when nobody was in there. They were getting ready to do it. Matter of fact, there was a dark day. They weren't getting ready to tape, but they were just doing maintenance checks because they were going to be shooting the next day. And I'm like, hey, my son was out of the studio visiting. We would go out sometimes just to. Working at Universal Studios allowed you to just go ride the rides whenever you wanted. So, that was kind of another little bonus, Right. So there were plenty of days when we were down where we would just go out and play in the park and to get the parking area that we use was connected to the studios, not like where customers come in and stuff, visitors. So I had to walk through the sound stages to get to my car. And so, we stopped by the Guts ones and they were, lights were on and everything was rigged up. And we just kind of said, can we climb the crag? And I let my son do the bungee thing. By the way, I mentioned my son a couple of times. He's also is a Nick on camera person. You watch the show Figure It Out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they had the Charade Brigade, right?
Mm.
The little chocolate dark haired dude with the cute little face. That's my son.
That's David. Yeah.
That's David. Yeah. And he was on the episode of All That. There's an episode where Keenan would play Super Dude, and Josh would play Milkman, his arch nemesis. Mm-hmm. And there's an episode where Milkman had a shrinking ray, would shrink Super Dude down to make him look like a little kid. Little kid was my kid. So
the perks.
He was a pro at it. No, but here's the thing: I never used nepotism. It was like they would ask, like again, walking around a lot, people would see him with me and go, "He's a cute kid. Does he do anything?" I'm like, "Well, you won't shut up about video games. What do you mean?"
Yeah. But hey, you expensive. Go earn some money.
But I told him, like, look, you've got to go to I'll get you to the table. This is where I think nepotism, I don't call it nepotism because like everybody else, if you got family, if you got family, you get hired at Starbucks, you're going to try to get some of your friends in there. That's just what how you should be, but I told him, I'll get you a seat at the table, but you got to eat on your own.
Bar. So, that's a bar. Yeah, so I can bring you to the table, but you got to be good. Actually, you ain't gonna get in just because of me.
No. Now, listen. We all know that the hardest part is getting the audition.
Right.
So that's when I use what position I had to get him at the table. But when you walked in, like I would actually not go with him to auditions. I would let my ex-wife, his mother, go with him. So when he walked in, and he's looking at these new producers. I'm not attached with him.
Right. Yeah. So they see him, not you and him.
Exactly. I want him to do stuff and get things on his own merit.
Right.
But whatever I can to help get him at the table, I'm going to do. That's, I'm a parent. That's what you want. Right. But I'm not going to falsify his record. You know what I'm saying? If he gets it, that's because he went up there. He crushed it on his own.
Got it on your own merit. You ain't get it because you're my kid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'll just sit at the table. You got to eat on your own though.
Right. Oh, really dope. Now, my last question for tonight is, I know you said you got nothing going on right now. Everything is coming to a screeching halt, but because you don't stop moving, I know your mind don't stop moving. Like what's next? Like, do you have anything coming down the pipeline? Are you writing? Or you just putting ideas out there?
Yes. Well, right now I'm in what we call pitch mode. I have a team of 3 amazing people. 4 amazing people. 3. No, wait, that sounds wrong. I have 3 people on my team. That makes 4.
Oh yeah, I'm 4.
And what we've been doing is having been in this business, having had the fortunate situation of getting to know networks and getting to know people, we've been creating content, show ideas, and we've been pitching. So this has afforded us the ability to do some things that, according to them, we should be doing this all the time, Phil. But normally I'm busy. I don't have time to necessarily write stuff up, put stuff together, do a pitch meeting if I'm, in Hawaii doing Love Island like I did one year. It's like I'm sorry, guys. They're all looking at, we're over here eating top ramen, Phil. What that? So this time we've been pounding, man. I can't turn my brain off. We've already done. We pitched to 4 different places. We pitched to a series of like 5 or 6 different shows, and I'm actually in the midst of writing up a new one. Which potentially we want to, well, not potentially, I'm writing it up because we're going to take it to Fox. The other thing I've been doing also is some of my colleagues who have gotten their pitches picked up. They're doing presentations and pilots. So they've been, bringing me in to work a couple of weeks with them and, help put everything together for the presentation. Shooting pilots is it takes the same amount of work, but you're only just doing 1 episode. But it still requires the same amount of work. Once you're done, you're not coming back the next day, and then you're waiting to hear if the network if they decide to go to series. So I've been doing a lot of that. So I've been helping out some of my colleagues who've been fortunate enough to get their stuff pitched and picked up. And my team and I are pitching our own original stuff. And, we are, just like, trying to keep moving, trying to keep active, keep the gray matter going right there. And you'll see what happens. I'm waiting for that phone call to say, hey, Phil, all right, as soon as the strike is over, we're going to be doing this show that you pitched to us. So that's that. I think if I had to say there's something new on the bucket list, that would be that. I never thought about, being a showrunner or a show creator before. But now, again, just like with the Nickelodeon times, now that I've created content and shows for so many other people, that I've learned a lot. So now I know the business a little bit more. I have ideas based on things that I've seen. I've worked on shows that I didn't really particularly think were that great. And in my brain, I fixed them. We didn't do it, but you know what I mean? You're like,
yeah. You kind of improved on the idea.
Show. Here's what I would do. And then you take that nugget of thing and you go on another show and go, ooh, this show is great except for this element. Oh, I would do this. And all of a sudden, now sitting in my living room, you go,
add more.
Oh, you take these two things and put it together and no one will know because they didn't do it here and they didn't do it there, but they fit together and I'm calling it a new thing, Right. By the way, I don't know why I did the Power Rangers thing just then. That's the first thing I thought when I did that.
Hell, man, you've been a joy, man. Yeah, I tell you, I'm glad when I get to talk to people that I really look up to, that they live up to it. So you've been nothing short of amazing, man. I just want to tell you personally, like I said, since a little kid, you inspired me just seeing somebody that looked like me on my TV screen on one of my favorite shows on one of my favorite networks. I wish the best for you, man. Good luck on all the shows that you're pitching, man. And
thank you, brother.
I love you, man. I love you.
Man, look, I really appreciate it, man. It's good talking with y'all. It was a lot of fun. Again, sorry I was late to the party, but once we got going, man, we cranked it up. It was a lot of fun.
All good, man. All love, man.
And again, I'm dead serious, man. Your intuitiveness as a podcast, look, when you're looking at major stars like Ben Affleck and them, when they do interviews and junkets and podcasts, we get asked the same questions over and over again. And even though it's repeated for us, it's the first time for you in the audience. So we try to be nice and be accommodating. But it is so refreshing when somebody has like dug a little deeper and they come up with questions that I'm like, oh, wow. That's cool. I haven't heard that one before. I talked about it to my friends for a couple beers, but like, let me tell you about it. So, Jay, that means that y'all got something going. Y'all thinking. Y'all some thinking brothers. Y'all some thinking ninjas. Right. Y'all ain't just fighting with your hands. You're fighting with your brains, man.
I mean, we got some ideas. So, you know,
wait a minute,
you need
think
some writers
something right
or some
now.
ideas or something?
Think of something right now. Right now. Think of something. Right now. Ready? Ow! See? That was that ninja brain power, man.
It's my third eye, brother.
Dang!
You didn't even see the punch coming.
Oh, the force is strong with this one.
Phil, man, you've been awesome, man. I mean, I got more questions. Maybe we'll talk sometime down the line. But, you know, as for right now, we appreciate you for coming to the dojo, chopping it up with us. And like I said, good luck, much success. And hopefully, you know, we'll talk to you soon about something else. Hopefully, when you know, if you got a new project and you want to announce it, you know, you can come here.
I'll hit you up. And if you want to chat about anything, look, now that we've been chatting and y'all know how to reach me, hit me up. Hit me up. Look, it's like, especially now, don't wait until strike's over. Then you're like, oh, that Phil, he never returns my call. But right now, you got me.
I know where you at.
Captive
He
audience,
home.
man.
I know he home. Nothing.
If I'm not at home, I'm at the movies or I'm at the beach.
Right.
Or I'm out in my yard flying my drone. That's it.
Something.
That's it.
Again, Phil, man,
thank you. From my living room now. But anyway, yeah.
We appreciate it, man. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. But listen, when we get off here, I'm going to send you this picture that I was talking about. Yes. Bobby, you're going to appreciate this picture. Right. You're going to appreciate the picture. All right.
Definitely, man.
All right, fellas. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Have a good one, man.
Take care now. Bye.
Thank you.